Hello and welcome back to the Integrative Therapist, where we integrate mind, body, and beyond. We explore the art and science of holistic wellness. I'm your host, Julie, an integrative therapist who is passionate about helping you cultivate a life that feels aligned, intentional, and fulfilling for you. Throughout the podcast, we dive into meaningful conversations about mental health, personal growth, and the powerful connection between the mind, the body, and the spirit. Just a gentle reminder that these resources shared in the podcast are for educational and self-help purposes only. They are certainly not a substitute for professional therapy, counseling, and/or medical advice. Everyone's journey is unique, so please explore what feels most supportive for you. And if you're experiencing distress, please reach out to a qualified mental health professional in your area. You are not alone, and help is available. All right, so before we dive into today's topic, let's take a moment to acknowledge the ground we've covered together so far. In our last episode, we explored boundaries as acts of self-rescue and self-connection, as invitations to honor our needs, protect our peace, and reclaim our truth. Today, we're going even deeper into this conversation. We're going to take a look at the radical act of reclaiming rest. Because for so many of us, rest doesn't always feel like a gift. It can feel unsafe, unproductive, or even laced with a sense of shame. We might carry messages from our family, our culture, or past experiences that tell us that rest is lazy, weak, or selfish. We might wear busyness like a badge of worth, believing that if we slow down, we'll lose our value or we'll lose our connection to others. We're talking about something that might feel almost radical in our fast-paced world, slowing down, not just as a weekend luxury or as a quick escape, but as a way of being, a way of moving, as a form of nervous system repair, as an act of deep self-trust in a culture that celebrates urgency, busyness, and constant overdoing. So in today's episode, we'll explore why rest can often feel unsafe or unproductive, the difference between true restorative rest and numbing or avoidance, and how busyness can become an identity and a false source of self-worth. I'll also introduce some simple rituals to bring slowness and mindful presence into your daily life. So let's arrive together in the space. And if it's safe to do so, find a comfortable position, whether seated or lying down. Take one moment, placing your hand over your heart and a hand on your lower belly. Begin with one slow, steady breath in through your nose and a long, unhurried exhale out through your mouth. As you continue to breathe, invite your body to soften. Invite your mind to slow down. Perhaps noticing the pace of your breath, the weight of your body, or the subtle ways you might still be holding on. With curiosity, asking yourself gently, what's the current pace of my body? Is it fast, tense, or still? Where do I feel tension in my body today? Where might my body be asking me to slow down? And is there a part of me that's yearning for rest or stillness? And when you're ready, taking one more spacious breath in and a full releasing exhale out, let's journey into the space of rest and reclamation together. Settle in and let's begin. So let's begin by exploring why rest or even just slowing down can feel so challenging for so many of us. For many, rest feels like an indulgence rather than a necessity. Culturally, we're praised for productivity and busyness, and these often become measures of our own self worth and success. From childhood, perhaps we might have heard messages like, oh, don't be lazy. If you're bored, go find something to do. We don't get paid to rest. Stop daydreaming and get back to work. In so many family systems, value might have been placed on achievement over presence, on doing over simply being. On a societal level, we live in cultures that reward urgency, constant output, and visible hustle. Productivity becomes a moral virtue, while rest is viewed as a weakness or wasted time. We often internalize these beliefs early on, and before we can even understand what they mean, they become a part of who we are and how we move throughout the world. Familial roots can often deepen this further, as perhaps rest was not modeled to us. Maybe we had caregivers who were always working or who praised us only when we were achieving. We may have learned to equate love and acceptance with performance, creating a belief that we must earn rest or care through doing. From a trauma perspective, rest can often feel unsafe for us. According to the polyvagal theory by Dr. Stephen Porges, our nervous system prioritizes survival over relaxation. If we grew up in environments where being still meant being vulnerable, or where chaos was constant, that stillness might have felt dangerous rather than restorative. And the body learns that vigilance and movement keeps us safe. If this was the case for you, then you might notice that restlessness when you stop doing something, or perhaps even a feeling of guilt or shame that sets in for not being productive enough. You may even recognize your mind racing when your body is still. This isn't a sign of failure. This was your body's way of trying to survive in environments that perhaps were chaotic. Sometimes we may also keep busy because we're avoiding being with ourselves. That stillness can surface old grief, loneliness, or self-doubt that we've simply pushed aside. Slowness becomes a mirror, reflecting what we might have been avoiding or numbing through that constant motion. If slowing down feels confronting, you're not alone. That resistance is a signal. It's a part of you that learned it wasn't safe to pause. Without the constant doing, we might finally hear that quiet voice inside that says, I'm tired, or maybe I need help. And for so many, especially those with fawn or people-pleasing adaptations, busyness became a way to stay safe and to maintain connection with others. So as we move forward today, I invite you to hold all of this with compassion. You don't need to force stillness. You're simply invited to explore it. When we start exploring rest, it's important to remember not all rest is created equal. And after unpacking why rest can often feel unsafe or confronting for some of us, let's move into understanding what true nourishing rest can really look like and how that differs from numbing or avoidance. So restorative rest is an intentional act of nourishment. It's about engaging with rest from a place of awareness, openness, and care, allowing ourselves to truly receive the benefits. This might look like lying down for a nap and feeling your breath soften, maybe savoring a slow walk in nature, or spending an afternoon reading because it genuinely feels replenishing. Perhaps stretching gently before bed, listening to calming music while doing nothing else, or taking a warm bath simply to unwind. But on the other hand, numbing or avoidance often masquerades as rest, but it lacks true nourishment. So we might binge watch an entire season of a show while laying on the couch. We might scroll endlessly on social media or snack mindlessly, perhaps even repeatedly checking emails out of habit or staying up late to watch videos or reels. not because our body and mind are asking for that restoration, but because we're trying to disconnect from discomfort or feelings that we don't want to face. From a neuroscience perspective, true rest activates the parasympathetic nervous system, known as the rest and digest branch. When the system is engaged, our heart rate lowers, our digestion improves, cellular repair happens, and our body moves into a state that supports deep healing. Whereas in contrast, numbing keeps us stuck in survival mode. Depending on how we're avoiding, we might constantly feel on edge or restless, like our body can't relax. Or we might feel shut down or disconnected, like we're flat or numb. So instead of truly soothing and calming our system, we stay stuck in a loop that keeps us from feeling safe enough to actually slow down and rest. This idea is also shared in somatic psychology and trauma work. Experts like Dr. Peter Levine and Dr. Vessel van der Kolk remind us that healthy regulation isn't just about stopping or doing nothing. It's about helping the body feel safe enough to truly slow down and experience rest in a nourishing way. So a helpful self-check to gently explore whether this rest is truly supportive and nourishing, or if it might be more of a distraction or escape, is to ask yourself, do I feel more replenished or more drained afterward? So after you finish that activity, pause and really notice how you feel in your body and in your mind. Do you feel softer and more open and gently energized? Or do you feel foggy, heavy, or even more restless? Your body's response can help you understand whether that activity truly nourished you or simply numbed you for a while. Another way is to ask yourself, am I using this activity to connect more deeply to myself or to escape from something uncomfortable? So that might look like asking yourself, did this moment help me feel more grounded, more present, more in tune with what I really need? Or did I simply reach for it to avoid a feeling, to distract myself from a hard emotion, or to push something away? There's no shame in noticing. It's simply an invitation to bring more awareness and compassion to how we tend to our needs. You might even want to journal or reflect afterwards and ask yourself, what was I hoping this moment of rest would give me? What feelings came up before, during, and after this moment? And what would it look like to choose rest as an act of self-love rather than an escape? True rest leaves us feeling resourced and more present. Numbing, however, usually leaves us just as exhausted, sometimes even more so, and can perpetuate feelings of shame or disconnection. Remember, this isn't about judging ourselves for coping, because sometimes numbing is exactly the strategy our nervous system needs when deep rest feels unsafe or unreachable for us. But with compassion and a bit of curiosity, we can begin to open the door to more truly restorative rest, to nourishing our bodies, minds, and hearts in ways that feel safe and healing for us. So how do we start? One simple way is to widen our lens of what rest really looks like. So instead of waiting for the perfect opportunity to lie down, we can also explore 7 different pathways to replenish ourselves. Think of this as your personal rest menu. So let's take a quick tour. There's physical rest. So physical rest is exactly what it sounds like: deep sleep, power naps, gentle stretching, or slow walks. Our body needs these breaks to recover and rebuild energy. Mental rest. This is when our mind feels foggy or overwhelmed. Mental rest gives it a breather, gives it a pause and space. This might look like setting firm work and personal boundaries. So maybe no emails after hours, taking short pauses between tasks, and turning off all notifications for certain increments of time. Next, we moved into sensory rest. So our nervous systems get taxed by constant screens and noise, lights, sounds. Sensory rest means silencing all those notifications, stepping into a quiet, dimly lit space, or using noise-canceling headphones, anything that turns down the volume so you can take a moment to reset. And then there's creative rest. So, creative rest isn't about doing nothing. It's about refueling your imagination. Think of those youthful times. Visit an art gallery, listen to inspiring music, paint, color, craft, whatever that looks like. Let beauty spark new ideas and wonder. And the next is emotional rest. So, when you're always managing emotions, yours and others, you need space to be yourself. Emotional rest might look like journaling your true feelings, talking honestly with someone you trust, or gently setting boundaries with energy drainers. And then we come to social rest. So, not all social time uplifts us. Social rest is about balancing connection with stepping back when you need it. So, spending extra time with supportive friends and saying no to engagements that feel draining, or even just take some solo moments to simply recharge. And finally, we come to spiritual rest. Spiritual rest helps us reconnect with meaning and purpose. You might meditate, practice gratitude, reflect on what truly matters, or do acts of kindness, anything that reminds you of something bigger than yourself. So, by weaving these 7 types of rest, we expand our toolkit. If one path feels blocked or unsafe, then there's other avenues that we can take to find nourishment. We often think of being busy as productivity or purpose. But what if it is also a way of numbing ourselves? When we stay in constant motion, we rarely give ourselves a chance to feel what's truly going on beneath the surface. Let's explore how busyness can become its own identity and even a false source of self-worth. When we look closer, we see that for many of us, busyness doesn't just fill our schedules, it starts to shape our identity. It becomes a way that we define our worth, our belonging, and even our sense of safety in the world. In psychology, this is sometimes referred to as performance-based worthiness, the belief that your value is dependent on what you achieve, produce, or how helpful you are to others. This constant busyness can function as an armor against vulnerability. By staying busy, we don't have to confront the tender parts of ourselves that feel unworthy or not enough. One of my most favorite people is Dr. Brene Brown, and she speaks to this so powerfully in her research on shame, vulnerability, and worthiness. She describes how we often hustle for our worth, trying to prove we're enough through doing, producing, and perfecting. She calls this a hustle for worthiness, a cycle where we believe that rest, play, and stillness must be earned only after we've achieved enough or pleased enough people. Dr. Brene Brown also talks about how numbing is a universal strategy that we use to avoid vulnerability and difficult emotions, and that when we keep ourselves constantly busy, we don't have time to feel that discomfort of shame, fear, or the belief that we are not enough. But this disconnection comes at a cost. It keeps us from authentic connection with ourselves and with others. As when our identity is rooted in doing rather than being, we risk becoming disconnected from our own needs, our own desires, and even from our bodies. We begin to believe that if we stop, we will lose our value. So before we rush back into our to-do list, let's hold that question in the air. What if we offered ourselves practices that truly speak the body's language, inviting in safety, nourishment, and genuine rest? Here are some gentle invitations to get you started. You might want to try experimenting with expanding your restful micro rituals. So that looks like taking regular pauses throughout the day to notice your breath and body's energy. You could do this by setting your phone timer or adding a calendar reminder every 60 to 90 minutes or whatever works best for you. And when it rings, take a pause, whatever you're doing, close your eyes for a single breath in and out, and check in with how your body feels. Perhaps it's tired, tense, open, or grounded. A quick jot in your calendar or journal about what you may notice may help you spot patterns over time. Another could be interrupt regular sitting or hyperfocus with micro movements. So, whether it's a standing stretch to open your chest, a gentle side bend at your desk, or a soothing sway while you wait for your coffee, these little motions reset your nervous system. Again, you can use the same timer method or calendar cue to prompt those movements. Practicing a pause ritual for instant support. So that could look like at any moment of overwhelm or autopilot, simply place one hand on the heart, the other on the belly, taking a deep breath in and out, and asking yourself softly, what do I need right now to feel most supported? And notice the first impulse that comes to your mind, whether that be to perhaps grab a glass of water, 5 seconds of silence, or maybe a kind, compassionate thought to yourself, and give yourself permission to meet that need. So, looping back to the regular pauses to notice our breath and body's energy, this one comes into play to honor that. So, tracking your ebbs and flows for a few days. So, noticing when you perhaps feel most alert, when you drag, when you bounce back, and then schedule demanding tasks during high energy windows and carve out mini rests and breath checks or short walks when you notice your energy dipping. Another way to offer ourselves nourishment is to savor one full meal without distractions. So choose a meal each day, whether that be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Turn off all notification screens, to-do lists, and engage all your senses in that moment. Notice the colors on your plate, the aroma, the textures, the flavors. This mindful eating practice isn't just nourishment for the body, but also a powerful act of rest for the mind and the digestive system. There are so many ways that you can nourish yourself and give yourself moments to rest. Choose what works best for you. These are just simple suggestions that may help you get a kickstart. You don't need to upend your life to reconnect with your natural pace. These gentle invitations, time reminders, micro movements, mindful meals can transform the busy worth cycle into one where presence, rest, and wholehearted ease become your true measures of success. Reconnecting with your natural pace means learning to honor your true internal rhythms instead of measuring yourself against external demands or cultural expectations. When we're constantly moving fast, our nervous system can get stuck in a pattern of survival, always scanning for danger, always bracing for the next task. This is what Dr. Stephen Porges' polyvagal theory refers to when he talks about the body being stuck in a state of sympathetic dominance, fight or flight. Let's begin to redefine what safety feels like in the body. Safety is not the absence of chaos. It's the presence of choice, rhythm, and internal anchoring. The body craves rhythm, not urgency, not overstimulation, simple rhythm. That's why walking slowly, eating mindfully, listening deeply, and breathing intentionally are so soothing. They restore your internal tempo. True safety, as Dr. Stephen Porges explains, is not about rigid stillness or forced relaxation. It's about feeling connected, having choice, and experiencing presence in the body. When you slow down in a way that feels supportive, your nervous system begins to learn that it's safe to rest and it's safe to simply be. So rather than forcing yourself to stop completely, think of this as an invitation to move at your own organic rhythm. Sometimes that might mean rest, sometimes gentle movement, and sometimes simply pausing to breathe and notice your surroundings. So ask yourself, what pace feels natural to me? Not what I think it should be, what feels natural to me. When does my body ask for deep rest or stillness, and am I honoring that? When does it crave gentle movement, stretching, or softness? And do I feel I can give space to that? How do I know when I'm overriding my natural signals to keep pushing forward? And can I slow down to pay more attention to that? By listening to these cues, you begin to build trust with your body. You teach your nervous system that it's safe to slow down and that you don't have to earn rest or prove your worth through constant doing. When you reconnect with this inner rhythm, you begin to feel a deeper sense of belonging, not because you've achieved something, but simply because you exist. We're allowed to move slowly. You're allowed to rest. And you are enough exactly as you are. Finally, I invite you to explore these reflection prompts as gentle gateways into your relationship with rest. Asking yourself, what do I fear would happen if I truly slowed down? When I rest, what feelings or thoughts arise? And can I welcome them with compassion, not judgment? What messages did I receive about rest growing up? And do those messages still serve me today? What would it look like to rest as an act of love for myself? As we wrap up today's conversation, I invite you to take one more slow, nourishing breath, feeling the weight of your body supported beneath you, noticing any softening that might be happening inside you, and maybe whispering to yourself, I am allowed to rest. I am enough even when I'm still. I don't have to earn my belonging. Let these words settle deep into your body. You are not a machine. You are a living, breathing being. This journey isn't about getting it perfect. It's about building a more compassionate relationship with yourself. One gentle pause, one supportive breath, and one moment of presence at a time. Give yourself permission to move slowly. Give yourself permission to choose what feels nourishing to you. And if today's conversation resonated with you, I'd love for you to explore my Reclaiming Rest Toolkit, an 80-page guide filled with meditations, reflection prompts, and simple practices to help you restore and balance the calm within. You can find it through my website, www.theintegrativetherapist.ca. And it's a beautiful way to deepen and continue the practices that we explored here together. So next week, we're continuing our journey with a brand new episode, very fitting for this time of year, called Seasons of Change, How to Embrace Transitions and Thrive. In this episode, we'll explore why seasonal shifts feel unsettling, from back-to-school rhythms to summer's gentle fade, and the changing light, and how our brain survival wiring reacts to routine disruption. We'll also chat about daily rhythm realignment, how small tweaks to wake, sleep times, meal windows, and work break cycles can help your body sync to new seasonal patterns. We'll take a look at environmental cues and rituals, how to use changes in nature's fall, golden light, spring's fresh blooms as prompts or micro rituals that anchor your day. And we'll also explore seasonal self-care mapping, tailoring a toolkit for movement, nourishment, and rest to each season's tempos: spring renewal, summer expansion, autumn reflection, and winter restoration. Whether you're adjusting your schedule for a new semester, coping with darker evenings, or simply noticing how your energy ebbs and flows with the seasons, this episode is for you. You don't have to let routine changes knock you off your center. You can learn to move through each season with curiosity, compassion, and calm. If you've ever felt caught off guard by a shifting routine or season, this one is for you. Set your intention now, and I'll see you there. With care, Julie.